All right, y'all, welcome to the show. So we're playing catch up today. I got a lot of stuff to get to. I'm going to talk about what happened in Texas the other day. The governor pardoned somebody who is a cold-blooded murderer, pure and simple. And he did it for just obvious political reasons. We'll get also to some freaky-ass evangelical Christians who were outed as being super-duper freaky, even though their whole thing is to castigate the LGBTQ community. We're going to discuss Cardi B's comments about how she's not voting for Trump or Biden. Tulsi continues to out herself as an anti-war fraud. Trump claims that Biden is scared to debate RFK. The Pope absolutely flames conservatives. And we have an interesting case where a physically healthy Dutch woman she's getting the green light to do physician-assisted suicide, which is, something that clearly is highly debated. So we'll discuss that and much more. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out massively. It costs you nothing at all. We're trying to add a beautiful 10 million sub plaque behind us here to go with these two bad boys that we already got. And support the channel on Patreon or tip on YouTube, because I don't talk to any advertisers, never have, never will. You guys support the show with small dollar donations. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. So Daniel Perry is a guy who committed murder at a Black Lives Matter protest. I mean, that's the simplest way to describe it. These things are not in dispute. These are the facts of the matter. He was found guilty of murder. And now the rogue governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has stepped in and pardoned him. Okay, so I'm going to get back to more specifics on this in a second. But let's remember, guys, this is the governor who has absolutely lost his mind recently. This is the guy who a year or so ago signed a pro-free speech on college campus bill. And then, of course, when pro-Palestine protests broke out in Austin, what did he do? He sent in the police to break it up. It's totally illegal, totally unconstitutional, 100% against the First Amendment and free speech and free protest. So just a complete hack, total charlatan, total fraud. This is also the guy who, there was a Supreme Court case about the border, and the Supreme Court effectively said, Texas, you are not allowed to override and overrule the federal government of the United States of America and say, hey, we're going to do border enforcement policy that's unlike what you guys are doing, right? So they had put up these like buoy barbed wire thingies, and there had been people who were killed crossing the border, women, children. Basically, the Texas governor had hyper-militarized the border and had been violating federal laws in the process. And the court said, you're not allowed to do that. You can't tell the federal border protection to go kick rocks as you do with the border as you please. So what did Greg Abbott do? He said, yeah, agree to disagree. I'm going to go ahead and keep doing it anyway. So directly in contravention of federal U.S. law and the judicial branch, who said, you can't do that, he said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So go ahead. If you want to stop me, try to stop me, but it ain't going to work. And so he's just rogue. This guy has gone rogue. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has been as extreme and severe as what I'm about to walk you through here. So Daniel Perry, in the weeks after George Floyd was murdered in 2020, there were Black Lives Matter protests that broke out all over the place. And this guy, Daniel Perry, was an active duty Army officer, and he apparently was filled with bloodlust. So here's some of the things that he texted and messaged his friends. Quote, I might go to Dallas to shoot looters. I might have to kill a few people on my way to work. They are rioting outside my apartment complex. No protesters go near me or my car. I wonder if they will let me cut the ears off of people who decided to commit suicide by me. When a friend of Perry asked him if he could catch me a Negro daddy, Perry replied, that is what I am hoping for. Weeks later, Perry was driving an Uber in Austin, Texas, when he came upon a Black Lives Matter march. According to prosecutors, Perry ran a red light and drove his vehicle into the crowd, almost hitting several protesters. Activists then gathered around Perry's car. Garrett Foster, who's a 28-year-old Air Force veteran, was openly carrying an AK-47 rifle. Daniel Perry then shot Foster dead. Now remember, Texas is an open carry state. So this guy who was part of the BLM protest who was carrying a gun, that's perfectly legal. He's exercising his First Amendment and his Second Amendment rights. Now, nobody claims this dude pointed the gun at Perry. Perry doesn't even claim that. And Perry shot him dead. At trial, Perry's defense team alleged that Foster had pointed his rifle at the defendant, but witnesses testified that Foster never brandished his weapon, only carried it, which is legal in Texas. And Perry corroborated that account in his initial statement to the police, saying, "I believe he was going to aim at me. I didn't want to give him a chance to aim at me." A jury convicted Perry of murder last year. But Governor Greg Abbott decided, I'm going to pardon him. In a statement, Abbott said, "Texas has one of the strongest stand-your-ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney." He noted that in the Lone Star State, a person is justified in using deadly force against another if they reasonably believe the deadly force is immediately necessary for averting one's own violent death. The Texas governor argued that it was reasonable for Perry to believe his life was at stake since Foster had held his gun in the low, ready firing position. In other words, he wasn't pointing it at him at all. But again, what's being said here is inconsistent with Perry's own remarks to the police, which indicated Foster did not aim a rifle at his killer, but merely carried it. That's him exercising his Second Amendment rights, and he was in the midst of doing his First Amendment rights as well because he was protesting. So look, by the stand your ground law logic, the fact of the matter is, it's not Perry who would have the claim to kill there. It's Foster. It's the victim who ended up dead. If you have a vehicle run through a red light and almost hit a bunch of protesters, and you look and the guy's got a gun, it would have been reasonable for Foster to open fire at Perry and kill Perry, and you could get away under the logic of a stand your ground law, because it's reasonable to think, I'm going to need self-defense. This guy already almost ran over people. Clearly he's threatening. But no, they totally flip reality on its head. Completely. Again, I want to reiterate, man. Here's more of this guy who Greg Abbott pardoned, Daniel Perry. A normal night for Daniel Perry, just Googling good chats to meet young girls, followed by degrees of murder charges and attack on Jews in Texas. A review of Daniel Perry's cell phone extraction revealed that on or about an unknown date in an unknown county in Texas, a possible search in Safari for good chats to meet young girls. A review of Daniel Perry's cell phone extraction revealed that on or about an unknown date in an unknown county in Texas, a possible search in Safari for good chats to meet young girls is the same thing. Another one where he did degrees of murder charges, and another one, attack on Jews in Texas. So we have that. We basically have him saying, I would like to go kill a protester. I would like to go kill protesters. I would like to shoot them. And then he does exactly that, follows through on his own words, and he gets off. So look, what's the reality of this situation? It's actually very, very simple. Here's the reality. This guy is super right-wing. The BLM protester is viewed as super left-wing. Greg Abbott is super right-wing. So he looks at a guy who has the same or very similar ideology as him, and he goes, you are by definition innocent. You are by definition the good guy. You are by definition acting in self-defense. And that's why I'm pardoning you. So this is rank politics. That's what this is. Now, do any of us really want to live in a country where that's the way the law works? If you're a political ally, I'll let you get away with anything. If you're a political enemy, I'll let you get away with nothing and even stretch it and excuse your murder, etc. This makes a mockery of the rule of law. This makes a mockery of justice. But Greg Abbott doesn't care. I don't know how you could look at a situation where a guy says, I want to go kill people. Then he instigates, he's the one who does a direct threat by running through a red light, almost running over protesters. And then he kills somebody who doesn't even point a gun at him, and he gets off. Look, we have crossed a red line here, in my opinion. It looks to me like we've crossed a red line here. Because again, what this says is, if you're a left-winger, you don't have rights. Remember, this is the same governor who started cracking skulls at pro-Palestine protests. There was no argument whatsoever that these protesters were being violent. None. There was no evidence. It was all totally nonviolent, peaceful encampments Their demands were clear. Hey, divest from Israel, the colleges and the universities, and let's stop the genocide. And their rights were taken away. And this is just what this guy does. Lefties don't have rights. Black protesters don't have rights. So he's made a mockery of both the First Amendment and the Second Amendment in this case. And what he's made clear is he's a complete political hack, but he's also a criminal because he's covering for criminals. And he's violating the law himself by snubbing the courts on the border issue. So, like I said, I think we've crossed a red line here. Because what he's doing is he's green-lighting vigilante political murders. Because he happens to be on the same side as the murderer in this instance. It felt like maybe there was a time where we were at least trying to get to the point where certain lines couldn't be crossed. But now we live in a timeline where there's genocide that we're arming and funding, and there's political murders that governors are covering for. It almost seems like rights are a total illusion. It almost seems like rights are a concept that isn't actually upheld. And I've never seen a darker situation than this. It doesn't get any darker than this. The facts could not be more clear, and that's why a Texas jury said he's guilty. He's guilty. Governor overrode it. I mean, in my opinion, what the governor did here, what Abbott did, is a crime. But I won't hold my breath for justice because it never seems to come. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.